Me and my squad are gonna split. But we'll see you at the tournament. Oh, and LaFleur, best bring your bib, because it's gonna get messy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. I'm your host, Gus Manti, one of your hosts. We got a big crew on here tonight. We'll kind of go down the line. I think we're going to kind of talk what we're sipping on here tonight. I'll start it off here, getting a spotted cow going here, even though it was a nice 80-degree fall day. Didn't quite feel like fall is truly here. It kind of did for a little bit of this month, but now it's almost back to August weather. We're getting a cold snap. We're going to get into that for sure tonight. We got a lot of talk on going into the weekend and what we have going on, the Musky Battle or the Wisconsin Musky Battle. But before I go any further, let's introduce the other members here on tonight. So I'll start out with Brian. Brian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great tonight. Excited to be talking to these two fellows we got on the line right now about what's coming up this weekend. I am sipping on water tonight. I am saving myself. Tomorrow I'll probably have some beverages, going to a little Kitchen Dwellers concert. I'm sure some of the listeners are familiar with
Ooh,
them.
you be
Huge
tapping the
band.
floor.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have the little old shit kickers tapping for sure. But yeah, without further ado,
That'd be
then I
awesome.
know Max busted out the wine again. Should be a fun one for him tonight. How you doing, Max?
Good, yeah. I was just chatting with one of our other guests on here tonight. It's the first thing I saw when I walked in the store. Couldn't tell you what it is. Brand, it is the color white. So it's that's about all I got for you guys. But yeah, should be a good one tonight. I'm kind of helping myself out here a little relapse on the back situation this weekend. Decided to join a
Uh-oh.
men's league hockey team this winter. So I was excited to lay some back up on Sunday. You know how it is, Brian. I was, coming down the ice trying to make a nice little move with the blue line. I had a one-on-one against another fellow, got tripped up, landed right on the stomach. Knew right
Oh,
away it was just all over again. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So just been nursing that the last few days. I mean, this is just I'm built out of I don't even know just makeshift parts at this point. I feel like ever since I turned 30,
Plywood.
it's just been a non it's just been straight injury after injury. But yeah, no, I was able to slip out, do a little bit of fishing on Saturday morning here locally on Tonka. Did get to pop a fish, so that was good to get back out there, keep the streak going on that lake, which was happy with. But yeah, it was cool. When we were out there, we had 56-degree water temp for all those that listen here from the cities. So that was Sunday of this past week, or sorry, Saturday this past week. Water temp was 56 on most of the lake. And then we actually got to one section of the lake that was a little bit shallower and the water dipped to like 55. And when it dipped to 55, we were sitting there fishing and Tonka's relatively clear. And as I'm looking down, I can see the silt of the bottom of the lake start actually filtering up to the top column. So that was kind of cool. Like we were literally on the lake as it was starting to turn over, I'm pretty sure. So I haven't really seen it like in that earliest stages before. So that was cool. So we, shifted back over to some deeper water and everything was clear and I think still in pre-turnover. I mean, we found that fish up in, probably 8 to 10 feet of weeds, which is, relatively shallow for that body of water. So yeah, good time. Glad to get out there. Shout out to Josh for taking me out.
Shout
But
out.
really looking forward to kind
shut
of a
up.
marathon of fishing here this weekend. And I think that's a great segue to introduce our two guests here on the line with us tonight, getting ready for the Muskie Battle. They're going to show us the ropes because it's actually our crew's first time ever fishing in a Muskie Battle. So we're going to pepper them with some questions on how it all works, what to expect, et cetera, et cetera. So without further ado, let me introduce our guests here, Kyle Friedges and Tyler Eggenberger. Let me start out with Kyle. Kyle, how you doing tonight? I know you just landed in the Northwoods. Here, what was it, last night or this morning?
I am doing good, Max. Yeah, I got up here kind of late last night, fished some local stuff over the weekend. It's what, Monday right now, Monday night when we're filming this
Mhm.
podcast. So yeah, I was out on the water a little bit today and things were pretty kind of classic fall patterns, I would say today in terms of short bite windows. Fishing some new stuff, obviously, haven't been up here before. So I was kind of feeling my way out across the lake kind of the whole day and stumbled upon a few fish eventually. But yeah, so I'm Kyle Friedges. I live in the Twin Cities kind of metro area and do some stuff on YouTube with my channel Cabbage Dragon Media, and Beyond the Eight is the new name of it. We did a recent rebrand, which you can see on my channel. And I am sipping on a delicious Bush Light Peach, the beer of 10,000
Ooh.
casks. So
Limited dish.
celebrating a fish in the bag today. Nothing special, but we got one in the bag. Skunks out of the boat for the Musky
There you go.
Battle week. And
Good start. Good
yeah,
start.
we're rolling now. So
Good.
I guess, maybe I can introduce here my boat partner.
Please do.
And we'll turn it over to Mr. Tyler Eggenberger, the Polk County King himself.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Super excited and super excited for the battle. Had a great time the last two battles I did. Meeting everybody, and it's gonna be a blast. A lot of good guys, a lot of good guys. And as far as weather and local here where I'm at, I'm what, an hour east of you, Max, over here in
Mhm.
Wisconsin. Uh, this warm weather sucks.
Seems like you've
Friday,
been putting some
does.
fish in the bag though from your
yes,
stories and
still,
whatnot from what we've been kind of chatting back and forth.
yeah, still managing to get them in their short bite windows that they're giving us. I was out Friday and I was out sharing the boat with Adam Flash, one of the guys from the Metro, who's actually originally a Wisconsinite, but lives over and does a lot of fishing on Tonka. But we got him a really nice Wisconsin Muskie yesterday. So that was super fun, and that was on the sucker too, and so it was a blast. And
Nice.
if
What are
you
you
if
seeing
you
for
know,
temps?
so we started in the mornings. We were actually at 50, but by the end of the day, it was 56.
Oh,
Oof,
Yeah, it was brutal.
that's tough.
It was brutal.
Did you get
And
the
if
one
you
on the sucker in the morning before like the
no,
temps got up, or was it when it was later?
it was late evening, getting towards
Hmm,
last light when the temps
there you go.
were peaked. So it kind of threw us off. We had a chunky pike take a sucker, and then in
Hmm.
that same spot, wrapped back around like 3 hours later in that exact same spot, sucker goes off, and I'm thinking it's a pike again. Very well could be the same one because why not? Why not waste $30 on the same pike? But luckily it was a really nice muskie. I'm glad Adam got the chance at that one, and we got it in the bag.
That was a fish that I had raised the day before. We had it to the boat 5 times. We had it up on baits and chasing the sucker. And when I saw the picture of it, when he sent it, I was like, "Did you get it right here?" And he's like, "Yep, that's exactly where we got it." So it's funny how kind of she was just positioning herself right where she should be on a school of suckers that
Hmm.
were sitting around there and
Hmm.
took
Hmm.
his.
Yeah, it seems as though once these muskies show themselves, if they're really wanting to play around, you have that next day or two to get them before they possibly move. Especially this time frame, I would assume muskies are still cruising around to find their winter homes because I know it's kind of creeping on late October, but the fact that we're all still dealing with the kind of a turnover battle for the most part, I think we're mostly post. I want to say as an update for up here, but I mean as you just heard from Tyler, he had temps go shoot back up to 56, so I know that that can't exactly help. But anyways, let's go back to you, Tyler, and you have a YouTube channel yourself. So it is Midwest Fishing with Ty. If you want to kind of explain that or why you started that or maybe when you did, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So I've filmed. I mean, back when I had my grandma's that big old flip screen uh video camera, I
Yeah.
filmed myself road trolling when I was 12 years old. I've always liked filming myself, but it wasn't until Kyle got into uh editing videos that I kind of started my YouTube as well. So that would have been what, 2 years ago. And Kyle was a big help with um like the editing process for me. I'm not very tech savvy. He's helped me a lot. I will give him that credit. Um, he's answered every question I've had. Um, but I mean, I would well, like we all wish we knew what we knew now, and from back then, wish I would did it with some of the stuff we caught on footage over the years. It's stuff that you just wouldn't believe unless you had it on camera. I had buddy take my cameras. Travis Diesler, he took my cameras one day while I worked and he went fishing, and we got on camera him hand reeling in a 40-inch muskie because his line snapped and it still had the mag dog in its mouth, and you can see it on camera shaking uh, the bait, trying to lose the bait as he's driving around with his boat looking for that braided line floating, and he hand reels in a 40. It's like you wouldn't have believed it unless you have it on footage.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, it's
that's
true.
been an experience with. I had a lot of fun with the editing. It's just something fun to do, and kind of taken off with it a little bit anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love all your stuff, and I was lucky to be part of one of your videos. I think made a great YouTube debut on my part. I got a line caught in the trolling motor. I pulled bait out of the water during an 8 when a fish was coming up, and missed one in the 8. So I had a really solid YouTube debut. That was good
Let's
stuff.
go. Representing well.
Yeah, yeah, repping well. But yeah, so no, it was really fun to get out with you that day. I really appreciated it. And to go over to your boat partner here, Mr. Kyle Friedges just dropped quite the video for part un of his Eagle Lake expedition from this past year. I think we shouted you out here on our last pod. We kind of just briefly talked about it, but I think tonight we're going to get into more of the Musky Battle stuff. But if you want to just give a quick kind of quick idea on what this, just type of stuff I should say that you shot up at Eagle Lake, and kind of what you're planning on doing with that footage.
Yeah. It's interesting because you have a whole year to kind of prep for that trip and like mentally prepare for it. And I had like this vision in my head of what I wanted to do with the first video. And it kind of played out exactly how I thought it would, where it's like, life was really busy for us this summer with the house remodel we had going on and stuff. And I didn't capture a ton of that on footage, but kind of allowed that to segue into this first Eagle Lake video and kind of tell the story of like, yeah, we haven't been on the water, guys, and not really sure what to expect. And on top of that, pulled the trigger on a new boat. So I rigged all of that myself and got that ready to go on top of the house remodel and everything. And kind of told that story through. And then, anytime you go on a big trip, whether it's coming up here for the week, to the Northwoods of Wisconsin, or, you go to Lake of the Woods, or you go on an ice fishing trip to Red Lake, or whatever the case may be, it's your expectations always go through the roof. That anticipation builds, you get really excited for it, and you think like this is going to be unbelievable. We're going to just crush fish. And, you get up there and you're met with the harsh reality of post-frontal conditions and muskies being muskies, even though you're on world-class water. And that kind of intertwines the story, right? You have that anticipation building, finally getting back on the water for the first time all summer. And then it's just a grind for 24 straight hours. And I tried to kind of lay out, like, instead of just beating my head against the wall like I did the last 2 years in these conditions, like I took that those hours throughout the day where the conditions just weren't good to get musky bites, and learned the lake and put myself in a position where I found some new weed beds and new locations, and eventually capitalized in just awful conditions with what I thought was just a super, super sick figure eight eat. Like, she came in, I raised her. She wasn't quite ready to go yet, so I repositioned the boat. And the boat positioning was important because if you watch it in the footage, like, she shows up really clearly when she eats it in the eight. But I had to position the boat so that I could effectively cast the lane she was relating to in the weed bed. And also, I don't know whether there's any truth to it, but you always hear people say, like, don't fish into your shadow, like, don't have your shadow casting where you're coming into the eight. I had to position the boat so that my shadow was casting away from where I thought she would come from. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Was she followed in, there was no shadows or anything, and I brought it through that first corner, and she kind of positioned herself, and I wasn't quite sure if she was going to go, and I just kind of fed it to her. Like, didn't give her a choice, brought it right into her face, and she had no other option but to eat it. And it kind of sets the trip off from that point. And, as I'm thinking through like these next few videos, like, one of the things I really want to do with my channel going forward, and I started doing a little bit of it this last year when I dropped my 2023 Eagle Lake series, is just differentiate myself from the rest of YouTube musky content and try to add more art to it, and more storytelling, which I think I'm kind of natural at to a certain degree. But I want to take this series like to the next level. I think I'll end up, I'm not even sure how many fish we caught on the trip. I haven't pulled any stills of like any of them. We pulled a couple when we were like up there, like the night I got my 50, and then a few other fish we pulled some stills from, but I haven't pulled all the stills from all the fish we caught. So I'm not even sure how many we ended up getting, but I think I'm going to be able to get like 13 to 15 videos out of the series, hopefully.
Oh,
And I want it to be like
Wow.
educational yet vlog style. And I want to take a different approach with each one of the videos to kind of tie all that together. And to kind of circle back on my original point that I was trying to make here, like, I had this vision in my head for the first video, and it played out kind of exactly how I needed it to tell that story. Now, the rest of the trip is a lot of like circumstance, right? Where you have to catch fish to make a video. So how do you tie that into the storytelling side, and then also some of these educational pieces that I want to do with it as well? So I got to think through that a little bit, and I'm not going to rush to get it out. I want to make sure I do a thorough job editing and kind of figure out a way to intertwine everything together in an artistic manner that's different from the traditional stuff you see on YouTube.
sure. Yeah, I thought it was an awesome debut on that trip. Yeah, I mean, you talked about that first fish in the figure eight, and the fact that it was the first fish of your year too. I mean, what a great way to kind of wet the beak, shake off the rust a little bit. Getting a nice, was like a beautiful mid 40s fish to start the season off. So that sounded like quite the dream. But yeah, I mean, you guys definitely, if you're into watching, YouTube videos, please go check out these two guys' channels. They're both have some awesome content. So, kind of shifting gears here to the Musky Battle. I wanted to kind of just ask this generally to both of you guys. If you could explain the Musky Battle, like what it is, if you know how it got started, how long have you two been fishing it, together? We could just kind of go from there on some of the stories, how you guys have done in the past, just stuff like that. But yeah, maybe just kind of talk about what is the Musky Battle.
Tyler, you want this one?
Well, I'll take a section of it. This coming battle is going to be my third battle. Kyle's got four on. This will be his fourth on. But each battle I've fished with Kyle, and the first one was the Minnesota battle that was last year September, if I'm correct. That was fun. First time in Bemidji for me. Doing some new lakes. It was the fish weren't where they weren't stacked where they should have been. They were kind of a bit everywhere, so it was a learning curve. But we did contact fish, so it was a lot of fun. And then there was the Wisconsin battle. It was brutal at moments. Um, the lakes were still in turnover. The weather was ruthless, and I might as well tell you now, as Kyle's going to. I forgot my rain gear,
Mm.
and it rained, and
Oof.
it rained, and I toughed it out for a very very long time, a lot longer than Kyle would have. But eventually the cold and the downpour just it got to me, and I think it was maybe an hour or two left in the day. We had to call it. It was brutal. I don't think we saw fish that day.
Oh,
It started raining and I looked at him and we had just like got the suckers down and we had been fishing for like 10 minutes and I'm like, do you want to just run back to the truck and grab your rain gear? And he's like, no, I'll be fine. This will blow over. And holy cow, it did not blow over. I bet it rained for 4 or 5 straight hours, just downpoured on us to the point where like when you ran your bilge in your boat finally, it like I swear that bilge ran for 40 minutes. Like it just kept pumping water out of the boat. And he stood there and he toughed it out. I kudos to him. I wouldn't have forgot my rain gear in the first place, but he he sat there and toughed it out till his little teeth were chattering so hard we had to take him in and warm him up. It was like 40 degrees. Like I don't
It
know if I
was
said
yeah.
that, but it was cold.
It was cold and rain and like hard rain.
Yeah, so I I've done 4 of them. 2 in Bemidji, so 2022 in Bemidji. Got skunked. That was a tough trip. It was late October and um it was kind of a warm fall like this one had been, and fish just weren't super predictable and it was challenging. I'd never been up there, and Minnesota fish, like as you guys have come to know fish and Tonka and stuff, they just act so different from Wisconsin fish in terms of how they relate to structure and um where they position themselves at certain times of the year. So that was a big learning curve. And then last year, yeah, we fished the Minnesota battle in September and then the Wisconsin battle at the end of October. And for folks who don't know, I would encourage you to just search Musky Battle on YouTube. And there's videos that date back to, I think, like 2017 or 2018 when Jeff Contreras really started putting this on. And it originally kind of started as like a group of YouTubers that were coming together. And this was when fishing on YouTube was really like starting to take off and some of these channels were growing like exponentially. And the whole premise behind it was like, let's get everybody together and leverage the strength and the reach of all of these different channels that are kind of spread out throughout the US to help us all grow together. That was kind of the original thought. And what it's turned into is more of like, I guess what I would define it as is like a gathering or an outing for like a bunch of like-minded people. And we still have some folks that do some YouTube stuff. We have some folks that do some full-time guiding or part-time guiding or whatever the case may be. And it's just turned into just a group of friends that want to get together and hang out. And, the fishing, there's the tournament piece to it, but that's definitely not what it's all about. Like everybody wants to catch fish and whatnot. And you make these long drives to put fish in the boat, but it's the camaraderie side of it's what is really important and what really matters, in my opinion. And I've made some great friends through the Minnesota battle and the Wisconsin battle too. And I'm really looking forward to this week ahead. I'm super pumped to be up here all week, kind of just kicking the tires on some lakes that we won't be fishing as part of the battle, but looking forward to the battle, getting everybody up here, and I just hope everybody just sticks a pile of fish. It'd be great if everybody could boat one and put a bunch of fish in the boat for the lodge to get on film and whatnot, and do some promoting for them, and put together maybe a series of videos. I think would be kind of cool. Day 1 and day 2, and kind of tie it all together that way somehow.
So do you want to touch on where we're going to be at? Just like where the lodge is and where it's being hosted this year.
Yeah, we're staying at Buckataben Lodge. That's where I currently am right now. And that's located on Lower Buckataben. So we'll be fishing kind of the Eagle River area, if you will. I won't go into too much detail we're kind of putting a little twist on the battle this year to add I guess I'd call it more of a dramatic effect in terms of where folks are fishing. But we're putting a little twist on it, and we'll be kind of up in the surrounding area. So I'm sure you'll drop this on Thursday, Gus. So
Yeah.
we'll be pre-fishing on Thursday, and then the battle will be Friday, Saturday. So if you guys see us out and about at boat landings and whatnot, and people say they're part of the battle, be sure to say hey and introduce yourself.
I don't know if you don't want to give it away or not, but I do think you kind of put a cool twist on it and how we are deciding on where we're fishing. I mean, do you want to just
Maybe
lightly
no lake
talk
name,
about
but just
that?
like kind of the premise of
Well,
what's
I was debating on whether I wanted to keep it as part of the video that gets released,
Okay.
but maybe this will add more mystique to it to get folks to click on the video, I guess, or
Sure.
videos, right?
Yeah.
So what we're doing this year to switch things up is we are doing a random lake draw. So there are, let me check real quick. I got it up right here. There's 12 teams. There's 25 people, one team of 3.
Oh, wow.
And what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 different lake families. So as part of these families, each family will have a different trophy water, a different action water, and then all 3 families will have bucketobin as an option. So we'll do a random drawing on Thursday night, so you won't be able to pre-fish the family you get drawn. So that adds a little bit more of a hitch to the whole situation too, because you're starting fresh on Friday and you may have never touched this water before in your life. So we'll draw lakes on Thursday night, and that's the family you are relegated to. So you can choose action water versus trophy water depending on what you want to do. And kind of back to the water temperature conversation, I was on a deeper clear system today, and the water temps were low 50s, so I'm assuming most of these lakes have turned over fully, and hopefully the fish will settle in by the weekend. So trophy system should be at play this weekend, I would think, on traditional fall patterns, especially with this cold snap we have coming on Wednesday. So super excited for that. I think it's going to add a dramatic effect to it and kind of level the playing field to a certain degree. Some of the folks like Gus, like you guys, have fished a lot of these lakes up in this area, so you'll have some prior knowledge of them and whatnot. And others have never fished them before. I'm not going to touch any of the battle lakes ahead of it. I want to just start fresh with a kind of open mind going into it, and teams will have to make the decision on, do we want to go action? Do we want to go trophy, or do we want to go to bucketobin, which has bonus points too for every fish that gets boated on bucketobin? You get some bonus points for that too, to help promote the box and show a bunch of fish.
You saying there's not many fish in there?
In Bucky? I'm not sure. Ryan, are there? You know something I don't?
Must not be Lake X if we're going to expose it like this.
No, we want to promote the lodge, so we're I'm hoping some teams will check it out. I debated on maybe kicking the tires on it on Thursday just to see what it's all about, and if it's good.
The Tinner boys are going to roll out of bed at about 10, 11 o'clock and go catch a 45 on that lake.
Yeah, they're gonna keep the boat hooked up to the dock. I mean, take it out.
Well, they'll have to lift it up onto the dock, otherwise it'll be underwater by morning.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it does have.
What's this Tinner you speak of?
Tell them, Tyler.
Oh, the Bryson Baylor, the Buick. The Tinner boys, Bryson Baylor, they just, what is it? A little 16-foot aluminum boat. Not even, it's 14.
Yeah.
And they do have a trolling motor and a big motor on it, don't they?
And I think they got a Humminbird that they have screwed to a piece of plywood that they set on the floor in there.
It's like it was meant to be in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. It's just
Sounds like
one of those boats. But last year they were bucketing water out of it after being on the water all day.
Oh no!
Oh my God.
Well, it was raining on them too, so yeah, they do have a small leak in it, but yeah, the rain played a factor there too. But yeah, they don't have a bilge, so they use the old bucket.
They haven't fixed the leak since last year.
Well,
are they just kind of rocking it?
I doubt it.
I would doubt that they fixed it.
So we'll be seeing them on the trophy water out in the middle of the lake then, just hawking.
They run all over Bemidji with that thing.
Yeah.
That's wild.
They're not afraid of nothing then.
No.
No.
No, because I remember the Minnesota battle last year. We were on at this point, I guess we don't care about the what's in the lakes, but we were on Big Lake, and that's when one of the storms up there hit. We shot across in my boat, and then we had some cabin owner telling us, "Hey, you have to get off the water. This storm is giant. It's coming." And we could see that it was getting dark, but we were close to the shoreline to where we couldn't like see the cell of it, and it was bad. So finally, we shoot across, and somehow that little tinner going 7 miles an hour made it out before that storm hit. We're all sitting at the launch, just like, oh my god. Because I think Guru and Flash were also on that same lake that when that storm hit.
Mm-hmm.
We all ended up at the bar for bloodies.
Sounds about
Nice.
right.
Oh yeah.
And then after the bar, Zach Iverson
Zach,
stuck
yeah,
that, what was it, 53?
53 and a quarter.
Wow.
Holy
Jeez.
nuts.
Not sure if that'll be topped this weekend, but
Yeah, I don't know if the
Yeah,
Wisconsin
hopefully.
battle will show. I don't know. I mean, we got trophy water for a reason. I guess it depends on how many are going to hit it and what it's slightly weather dependent. A lot of times those fish don't even show themselves unless it's lined up correctly. But if it's like perfectly post turnover and good weather, I could see it being very solid on either
Yeah.
trophy or action, to be honest. So
yeah, Gus, talk about how it's setting up for this weekend.
so actually as I'm sitting right now on Monday night, I've been off the water for a few days. I took some days off, went to the Lambeau Field. Shout
Church.
out Packers.
Welcome home.
Went to a little Sunday noon mass. Took some Houston dudes to school. Came away with that dub 24-23, I think. If I'm not mistaken. No, 22,
No,
23.
close.
Close. You can
Couple
keep
today
track.
lattes. It's all
I mean,
right.
geez, how many beers do you have at the table? Okay.
Hey, don't worry about it. So either way, we got it. We got that dub by one. But now I'm back in the Northwoods, and I I should have asked somebody what the most recent temps were, but I guess we already have it from Kyle on a more larger, deeper system. So you said, Kyle, it was 53 or 50. Did it get warmer than that?
It was 51 to 53.
51 to 53?
Side imaging Deucer was 53, and then if you went
Mm-hmm.
down further, it was slightly colder, and the lake had pretty obviously turned over within the last, I don't know, handful of days. So I definitely think with I was just pulling up the weather here while we were talking. I definitely think with the cold snap on Wednesday and then it cooling down to like a high of low 50s the rest of the weekend, that we're
Mm-hmm.
setting up pretty good for hopefully a pretty hot fall bite.
Yeah, because I think so last week, if I'm looking back at, so when I was out, I went to a couple trophy bodies of water, a couple really deep, clear lakes, and I went to a couple very shallow and very stained lakes, like complete opposites. And I actually, on one of the days in the morning, and it was even one of the warmer days on the super shallow stained, I found 45, 46 in the morning. That was a super extreme case, that it's just an area where every fall is kind of always that much colder. So I kind of look for that if other things are turning over and I'm, struggling on certain lakes that I'm waiting for them to kind of get through that 55, 54, 53 and down. And then it was more like 50 to I think Friday, the last I saw on like a semi stain, definitely through turnover. I saw like 50 in the morning and the deeper section of the lake in the basin, I saw like 51 and a half by noon or 11:30, I think. Yeah, 11:30 or noon when I got off the water, and then I've been gone since. So I can only expect that some other of those shallow stained lakes kind of spiked in temperature from what was it today, Kyle? 80 out there, not super windy.
Yeah, it was 80. I mean, the wind kicked up with kind of
Okay.
that peak temp in the afternoon, but it wasn't like unbearable or anything. And bolt positioning was still pretty easy, but yeah, it was hot today, but it didn't really impact the water that I could tell really, and it stays cool enough at night that I don't think it's really raising the temps too much.
Looking at
Yeah.
the forecast, we've got big cold front Wednesday, 27
Mm.
low, 45 high, and then this weekend we'll be fishing. It's lows of 27, 29, so it's gonna be chilly. I don't know. Those temps will probably be below 50 by
50s.
then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's setting up really good for a good sucker bite, and hopefully those trophy systems start firing. But Gus and Max, Wednesday, when that snow's flying, that's the day we're gonna stick a giant on
Yes, we
Wednesday.
are. Yeah, Max will be up. I'll be in the boat with Kyle. We might be in the boat out tomorrow too. And maybe Papa Manti will join along as well. Bring some charm out there. Afternoon, maybe some
Fuck.
midday Sammies to I don't know, fuel us for the second half. But no, we got a lot of good fishing ahead of us. I know for sure we'll have plenty, whatever we do next week for the podcast, we're gonna have plenty to talk about no matter what happens this whole week. It's gonna be a lot of fishing by a lot of people. Um, I know we kind of talked about it, so we brought up the Tinner boys. Um, do you think you wanna talk about the teams here, Kyle? And then while we're on here, I know we wanted to talk about a Vegas odds going into the tournament. So we can kind of talk about
We
who
got to loop
won
in
it.
our insider here, our Vegas insider here, and get him going.
Yeah, we need Brian in here. But who who fished with David Dykowski last year? Um he's the previous winner. So
Yeah,
he
it
might
was
have
it was one of David's buddies from back home, Chad Newton.
Chad.
Um,
Okay. So
yep.
is Chad gonna be here this year?
Chad
No.
won't be. So David is the defending champ, and he's only half a team from the team that won it last year. So his buddy Nick, I think you say it Kozinski. I haven't met Nick yet. They're pairing up, and David David knows Wisconsin pretty well. He's from the UP, so he kind of knows the general area pretty well.
Hmm.
So, I think in terms of odds, I don't know, maybe Eckel can give us odds
He
on these guys,
he's
but
it's tough to win back to back. I don't like his chances this year.
Out.
yeah, I'm just worried, you guys know David a little bit. I hope his head fits through the door when he comes into the lodge for the first
Yeah.
time this year. That's what I'm worried
Seriously.
about.
Uh,
Do you have some odds for him, Brian, or you kind of want to
I
wait to hear some others?
I mean, defending champ, I'll put him at plus 1,000. Yeah, he's a good stick, but there's
Wow.
there's a lot of teams in this.
I thought it was only gonna be a couple hundred, but all right, plus 1,000. David and
I'm
Nick.
I'm tracking these right now. I'm adding it to my spreadsheet where I keep all the team names. So we're
so,
gonna
Good.
we're gonna circle
Brian,
back on this at the end.
Brian, for those who aren't degenerate gamblers, is that 10 to 1, 10 to 1 odds?
For for David, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be a pretty good payday then. I mean, man, I don't know, Vegas. I mean, if they take it, you're paying out.
Yeah.
Brian hasn't been known to historically win money, so he's actually a good house to have if you're betting.
Or pay it out on losing bets. Not very good
Yeah, I
at
was just
that.
gonna say, good luck actually getting your money.
Okay, well let's move on to the next team then. So we kind of touched on hopefully hitting 50-inch class fish. Maybe we can't top the 53 that the Minnesota Battle pumped out the other year, but let's look at a couple of guys that I think have a shot at 50s here this year.
Mhm.
I've already come to mental grips with the fact that they'll get one. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself if they get two. So I'm a little worried,
Yeah.
but we got Alex McLean and Tyler Schlabs, the Bemidji boys. If you guys follow them on Instagram, they just absolutely crush giants in northern Minnesota. What kind of odds we got on them, Brian?
I'm a little intimidated by these guys. I think they do have a little ego coming in here. They're known as the big fish catchers, but this is a different type of fishing. I want to put them a little bit above David's odds. I'll go 9 to 1 on them plus 900. We'll see. The eagle might slap them in the face when they get on these waters. This isn't, it's not easy out here.
Well,
They're either gonna win it all or the Eagles are gonna get them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
yeah, well, and as you know, some of us who fish both Minnesota fish and Wisconsin fish know, like they're different animals. Like
Oh yeah.
they act very different. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see if those two can adapt. Let's keep going on the list here. Let's go. Oh, we touched on these guys already. Everybody's excited for this team. Obviously, a household favorite, if you will. We got Bryce Groves and Baylor Short, and they are the Tinner Boys, known as the Tinner Boys.
Yeah, this I already like these guys a lot. Never met them. I admire the grit. You know, they seem to love. They seem to, you know, really take the whole battle thing to heart here. I'm gonna put them at, man. Well, I guess it depends. If they're gonna be leaving that thing at the dock and Bucket Top, and that might change the odds. But assuming they get out, and,
Keep this in mind, Brian. These are the boys that will close down the pub and start fishing at 10 a.m. 4 hours after we're all fishing.
I like them even more. I might go 5-1 here, plus 500.
Oh,
These guys seem like sticks.
I mean, they
Leaders
caught
in the
two last
clubhouse.
year. They did
They
catch
caught
two last
two
year.
doing this method last year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a good
Closing the
method.
bar down and having continental breakfast, then going
Yeah.
out fishing, and they caught two.
Is that boat big enough for 3?
That boat cannot maneuver very well to a pontoon to recover a flap tail.
Yeah. You can get into narrow areas though. That might help me.
Well, Brian's kind of hinted at, maybe he feels a little lukewarm on Bucket Tobin, so it doesn't seem like that's where he's going to be fishing. And yeah, it should be interesting to see if the Tinner boys end up leaving or docked all weekend and put a herd on them up on Upper and Lower Bucky. All right, let's keep moving down the list here. We're going to go with a big name here.
Big name.
Anybody who's followed muskie fishing for a while and has watched muskie content for years and years and years will probably recognize these names. These guys are the forefathers of muskie content. Some may even say legends of the sport, and we're honored to have them take part in the battle this year. We got Mike Keys and Dave Brown.
Shout out.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah,
What you got,
legends of the
Brian?
sport. Legends of the sport for sure. We've
Vegas.
been watching their videos for many years now.
Careful
Little
what you say now, Brian.
Little intimidating to dump the boat in right behind them. But gotta have confidence. I'm sure they will. I'm gonna say, man, go 6-1 right behind the Tinner boys. Sometimes all the gear can't help.
Wow.
But I know, hey, Keys can get after it too. Maybe that Bloody Mary at the turn might help him out. Who knows? I'm excited to see him.
Well said.
Sorry. Okay.
Well said.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm just
Great analysis.
Brian is so good at this. And I agree. I think Mike and Dave are they should be right up there towards the front in terms of odds. They've been fishing the area for a while now. Mike is well traveled. He knows how to adapt. He knows how to fight through tough conditions, and the tournament scene kind of plays right into his strengths in terms of gritting it out. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they perform. Let's keep moving here. We're gonna go with maybe a lesser known team. We are gonna go with a couple of guys that I know fish rivers pretty heavily. We don't have any rivers as part of our lake family list this year, but we're gonna go with Kyle Weeks and Adam Stark.
Mm.
I don't have a lot of intel on these beauties, like Max said, but with them being primarily river guys, that's obviously not going to help. They don't have to deal with turnover. This is going to be a new world for them. Good luck up here.
Act like they've never fished a lake before.
18-1. 18-1. Sorry, guys.
I will say though, Kyle Weeks knows how to throw a glide bait, and it may just be that bite with these water temps. So don't rule them out. That could be one. You got an extra $5-10 laying around. You want to throw some money down, and
That's a value play for sure.
no doubt. All right, we're gonna go to the originator of the Musky Battle. and a man who is known for the glitch glide bait and the glitch pedigree, Mike Conklin and Jeff Contreras.
This is an intimidating team here. You know, these guys have been around the block for a little while now. We got one of the best glide bait makers in the industry on this team with Mike. And like you said, it might be that kind of bite. I know they're going to be throwing it. Is that all Mike's throwing? I think he said he's just throwing the pedigree.
Well, he's got a proto too. He's been working on for a
Oh.
minute that may come into play. So it's hard to judge the odds, you know, when you got new interesting bait dynamics like that thrown into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to put him at 8-1 plus 800 for those guys.
I like it.
Also keep in mind here, going with the bonus points, so you can use suckers and cast, and you have a casting bonus as well. So the casting fish are worth a little bit more than sucker fish. So keep
Ooh.
that in mind,
I like that.
Vegas. And a
Yeah,
tiger
but-
bonus.
Oh,
The other thing to keep in mind for the folks listening at home, you know, if you're looking for a spot to place your money is, I believe Mike Conklin is the only person that's attending this battle that has caught a fish in every single battle that he's taken part in.
that's
And Mike's been
impressive.
going for a number of years. So he's you know, long tenured. He's got the experience on his side. He's done it before, and it's just a matter of time before instead of catching just one, he catches 5 or 6.
That's good intel there.
He-
That's
he's
impressive.
He's kind of like the Kirk Cousins of the sport, right? He's going to play great. He's going to have a good season, but he just can't win the big one. We'll see if he can do it this year.
What was his odds? What are their odds again?
800.
Plus
All right.
800. Plus
Love it.
800.
Love it.
Okay, so now we're gonna take a look here at Team Tackle Industries. Shout out Tackle Industries. And we got
Shout out.
head of sales,
Shout out.
Dan Scriber. Dan, I don't even know how you say your last name. I've known you for a couple years now. I don't even know how to say it, to be honest with you. Dan, we're gonna call it Scriber, Dan Scriber, and Bob Parteka. Bob does a little bit of guiding out on Green Bay, and he's just an absolute hammer in the boat. So what kind of odds does Vegas have on this team here?
Very good team here. They're gonna have all the gear in the world. Make sure you guys check out Tackle Industries. Man, it's a tough one. I'm gonna put them. What are their results in the past? Is this their first or is this?
Last year's Wisconsin Battle was their first time, and I believe I'd have to go back and double check. I should actually know this, considering I'm putting some of this on this year. I believe they took third, if I recall.
Okay.
So
That
they put
helps,
the fish
yeah.
on the board.
I'll go 7-1 on these guys. 700 plus 700. Good odds.
I think that's right in the sweet spot. Bob knows his stuff, and Dan's a good stick too. Dan's been on a few Keys Outdoors episodes over the years. Shout out Dan. Let's keep moving here. Okay, this will be interesting because there may be a little conflict of interest with the Vegas odds makers on this team. We got a team that in my mind is a sleeper and may not have the advantage on the first day due to work scheduling conflicts. So we hear. So that'll be interesting how this plays out in the odds. We got Charlie Scott and Brian Eckel.
I don't know if Vegas can give odds on their own player. I might have to turn over to Gus or Max here for these odds.
Oh God, you really want that?
Let's hear it. I'll tell you if you're right or wrong, but let me hear it.
I mean, I think Charlie probably pops 1 or 2 before you get up there. And then, you know, really it's anyone's guess after that happens. I mean, it's just a mental conundrum when you get in the boat. It could go 1 or 2 ways. I mean, either you guys just yap the entire time, and the next thing you know, you turn around and it's Saturday afternoon and you guys are wrapping up. Or, you know, you do what you do and you pull a little rabbit out of your hat and decide to stick the biggest fish of the tournament throwing a spinner bait or something. So, yeah, I mean,
I
who
think it is
knows?
the biggest boomer bust team big
Yeah.
time because like in our boat we typically Brian is just a big fish magnet out of nowhere on
So is
some of the
Charlie.
more random baits. And yes, like I was just gonna say Charlie is an absolute big fish magnet. So I'm just curious on what happens if you put 2 and 2 together. Is that
They
like gonna
cancel
be
out or
do they cancel it out and then they just catch shorts or No, topwater can only go so far in post turnover, so better hope for a good
Oh.
topwater bite. Max, what do you think? What do you think Vegas is going to put him at?
I'm gonna go 11-1. Kind of boomer bust
Jeez.
team.
I'm good with that.
Good value. I think if you're looking for a little bit better ROI on your money, good team that could go out there and definitely catch a few upper 40s. Like we were saying, I mean, they're two big fish magnets in the boat together. You know, like I mentioned, fishing with Brian, just you never know how it's gonna go. I mean, Charlie could end up netting the biggest fish he's ever seen in northern Wisconsin. Or that net could be drier than all hell. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to the next squad.
Yeah, we'll drop that one quick and move on here. We have a team here that is a couple. They participated last year. I don't believe Lauren caught a fish, but I know Trevor caught two, one on the first day and then one on, I believe it was the last day. They struggled during the unfavorable weather day. But, Trevor spends a lot of time on the water, whether that's in northern Wisconsin or out on Green Bay. He knows his stuff. And I believe they finished second. I can't remember if I said that or not. But we got Trevor and Lauren Cease here. What are the odds on this team?
I like this team a lot. Trevor's a great fisherman. I don't know a ton about Lauren, but I'm sure she kind of directs him on where to go when they fish together. I'm sure that's why Trevor's caught some of the fish he has. So therefore, they're a great team, and I'll put them at 9-1.
Okay.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I know Trevor knows the area well, Lauren knows the area well up here. And but this whole random draw lake family could put them in a position where they've got water they've never touched before. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. We got another couple here. There's a few couples here. It's nice to see female anglers participating in the battle. We'd love to see that. We have Levi and Kayla Leitonen. And these two, I believe, spent some time on rivers, similar to the Kyle Weeks and Adam Stark team. They also spent some time out on the bay. I know Kayla's participated in the women's retreat that Jesse Baker puts on Pipestone Lake in the past. So she's seen some fish. She's caught some fish, and I know Levi has too. What kind of odds do we have on this team here?
Yeah, I think Kayla caught a giant earlier this year with Trevor. She shook the rust off this year. She's prepared to do it again. I'm gonna put them at 8-1.
Wow.
Nice.
Good team.
I feel like a lot of these teams are falling in the same range. I mean, are you gonna any outliers here? One way or the
We'll
other?
get to
Or are
some
they all
outliers for
okay?
sure.
All right.
Yeah, all right. I could see, yeah. We're running out of teams here.
They're all kind of falling right in the middle ground, except for Kyle Weeks and Adam Stark. Those guys have
What would
no
they
shot,
ever do to you?
They got no shot. I can't wait to see how they handle it when they get to shake your hand for the first time.
Let me shake it.
All right. We're gonna save the best for last. So we're gonna go with a different team here. This is the only team with 3 individuals. So this may give this team an advantage if the sucker bites hot, because each angler can have a sucker rod down. So this could be the one boat with 3 rods. On the flip side, there's a lot more going on in the boat when you have 3 rods. We all know muskies do what they want to do, especially if they eat at the boat and decide to go crazy. So it'll be interesting to see how this team balances the dynamic in the boat. 2 of the people are a couple, and then the other one is just a mediocre Wisconsin angler that, struggles to edit YouTube videos. And quite honestly, Kyle taught him everything he knows. But we have Tyler Eggenberger, Kyle Friedges, and Victoria Friedges.
Wow. This is a tough team to evaluate here. Man, out of 3 anglers in the boat, it's already got to bump you up. But with Victoria being the only one capable of catching a big fish, I'm not really sure where to put you guys. But with 3, I mean, that's all I can think about. There's going to be a lot of baits in the water. Put you guys at 4-1.
Wow.
Whoa, the favorite.
But there will be an asterisk if you guys do win. 3's a little crazy. I noticed you didn't want to take on the other 3-headed monster across from me here, so I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of complaining and a lot of non-casting coming from the back of that whole tournament from Kyle.
I'm gonna be babysitting those suckers, man. They're gonna take us to the promised land. All right.
Mhm.
So me and
Somebody's gotta do
Victoria
it.
are going to be grinding, casting, showing Kyle how to use Suix,
Yeah.
and we're going to produce for this team. We're gonna bring this home.
There's the pep
I-
talk.
I think 4-1 odds. I don't like that. You know, I like playing the underdog role personally.
Mhm.
So this is we're coming into it with the lead. You know, we're on the pole right now. We got one team left, and it's kind of messing with my head already. I'm gonna need to I don't know. I got to go check the ego outside or something here.
Yeah.
This is messing with me a little
It's
bit.
filling the Zoom screen a little bit much.
Yeah. Jeez, man, I hope my head fits through the lodge. If not, David and I'll be outside. Okay, we got the last team. You know, this team is a team that has a little bit of storied success, one might say. You know, they've been through the ringer, they've seen the country, they've caught muskies in many states, and they're actually in 2023 were the PMTT team of the year. And
Shout out.
runner up in
Shout out.
2024. Shout out PMTT. We got the Manti boys. We got Gus and Max Manti. No Rich, just Gus and Max. And Brian, as we already discussed, is in a different boat.
Mhm.
What kind of odds do we got on just the Manti boys here to
Uh,
round out the teams?
This is a tough one for me to evaluate. There's a lot of factors involved here. Gus has been MIA in the Northwoods, drinking too many beers down in Green Bay. He probably wanted to move there. I didn't know if we'd see him this weekend, but he's back, lacking on his game a little bit. Max is undergoing back problems. You know, he's addicted to Minnesota fish now. Did he forget how to fish in the Northwoods? This is a tough one here. They do have storied success, but they haven't competed against the anglers that we're going to be seeing this weekend. You know, this is going to be a value play, a lot of risk reward. They're both, you know, questionable. Wait till the injury report comes out. 15-1 here.
Damn.
Oh my God.
No respect.
Go to the house.
It's hard to argue with those odds. It really is. I mean, especially
Oh,
because
Did I nail that?
Right,
you know,
right.
especially because I believe Max is the only person on the injury report heading into this battle. We'll
I'll
get
put
an
myself
update as
on
we get
there.
closer. So, you know, check the waiver wire and all that stuff as we get closer to this. But I believe Max is the only person on the injury report heading into the battle.
Yeah. Designated as questionable, but most likely he's going to suit up both days, if I had to guess. I
Oh yeah.
appreciate the analysis there, Brian. Definitely everything you said is very factual and checks out. You know, typical, just yeah, like I said, just great analysis. So
Thank you.
yeah, well there you have it. We have the full odds sheet on the battle. Thanks for bearing with us through that. That was a fun exercise, I would say. So we have Kyle, Tyler, and Victoria as the favorites, close followed by the Tinder boys. And then bringing up the rear is Gus and myself, followed by Kyle Weeks and Adam Stark. Is that his last name?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Kyle and Adam, if you're listening, no hard feelings from Brian here. I mean, he's just doing his analysis.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
bias.
you can't be mad at him. He's not biased at all. So
No.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I don't, you know, I think the odds are pretty good. You know, there's a couple that I would have maybe tweaked a little bit, but you know, Vegas is they win some, they lose some, but they're always kind of right in the middle when everything averages out. And
Yeah.
we'll
We
see
could
if that
maybe
plays out this
put up a
weekend.
poll and see where people want to put their money. See
We should.
which value play they like.
Yeah, that would be neat.
So I think some odds on something that I do just want to talk about in general is, you know, the year kind of the big fish in northern Wisconsin has made a slight return. I mean, I would say we've been seeing a lot of really nice fish get caught really across the range this entire summer, early fall. So the one thing I kind of wanted just to bring up and chat about is, you know, what are kind of the expectations you think by putting all these people on the water, you know, quote unquote, doing some competitive fishing? Gus, Brian, Tyler, you know, Kyle too, now he's back. What are you guys thinking as far as, you know, putting the big fish of the weekend on an odd sheet? You know, where do you think it's going to shake out realistically? Do you think there's going to be a 4-footer plus caught this weekend? Give us your expectations.
I'm gonna go with because I'm just very keen on a 4-footer. My biggest Wisconsin fish is 49. I have yet to surpass that 50, and that's I think that's a goal for every um, Wisconsin inland musky fisherman is that Wisconsin 50. I know a while back you guys had an episode where would you rather catch a double nickel or a inland 50, and that's a hard fish to catch, and they I feel like one's going to show, and I fear that it might be for the Bemidji boys, but I'd still like to see a picture of one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you already kind of touched on it, Max. I mean, you talked about the year of the big fish. I was on a local bait shop up here where he mentioned a couple 50s recently came out of one of the lakes that'll be in the trophy systems on one of the families, and I think it's very possible it could happen. It feels like over the last 2 years or so that 50-inch mark has become more realistic inland, and I don't know if that's just luck of the draw, natural reproduction playing out. I'm not exactly sure, but that's a rare fish. You don't see too many of those. I mean, how many PMTT tournaments end up on the chip or up here in Eagle River or wherever the case may be, and there's one caught with, hundreds of boats out on the water. That's a rare fish. I would say the 4-foot mark is probably pretty safe. If we're gonna put odds on it, I think we'll get one kind of right around that mark, maybe two. It'll be interesting to see how many teams gravitate towards that trophy water. I think with the abrupt cool down we're gonna have here, I would assume it's gonna fire those systems up. So, I kind of went into it this year thinking maybe leaning more towards action, but I'm a sucker for chasing trophies. I spent a lot of my time fishing water that holds bigger potential fish, so that may end up being the route we go. So I think it's going to depend on how many teams end up going that trophy route, but even some of those action lakes have big fish in them too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd say it's pretty safe that we'll see a 4-footer or two as part of this, especially if the water temps really fall off here and the sucker bite heats up.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, with the PMTT tournaments in Wisconsin, like, the ones that they have done on water outside of the Eagle River chain, there has been 50s caught. There was the 50 caught at the chip by Greg Thomas last year in the championship. Obviously, Mark Ladrewski caught the 52 and 3/4 or whatever it was down in Madison. I think there was a 50 caught at the chip
50
a
on
couple years ago,
Milwaukee.
50 on Milwaukee. So, when they go to waters that I think actually hold that caliber of fish more readily, we have been, they have been able to sniff them out a bit. I think, like you were talking about the fact that we're actually being able to kind of target and fish competitive, fish hard on these larger systems with this many boats and teams. I think will really help out. And, kind of the vibe I've gotten from you guys and just talking to everybody in group chats and stuff, people are pretty good about, helping each other out, sharing some information. So I think by, come Saturday, there should be a pretty good pattern established, that people will be pretty honed in on. But I'd like to get your thoughts, Gus, on what you think as far as expectations wise for big fish.
I mean, it's tough to say because, like Kyle said, there has been some 50s caught on certain bodies of water where the tournament is going to be held, where some of the trophy systems are. Um, I mean, looking back, I was just checking out our Monday Night Muskie League, and I think that just hit its 30th year. And in 30 years, I mean, the Monday Night League is not really a slouch of competition. There's always like a lot of local talent and stuff. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's only been 150 caught in those 30 years.
That's
I know,
crazy.
granted,
That's insane.
I know, granted, it's only, mainly on the Eagle River chain, and I actually don't know how long they've been doing lake groups, but there is some of these trophy lakes in those lake groups, and it'll be tough to say if there's gonna be a 50. I just, there's a lot of teams. You said 12, Kyle?
Yep.
12 teams, 25 people out there fishing. These lakes to us are large, but I do have that fear, just as Tyler said, that the Bemidji boys could find that 50, because to them, coming to these lakes, they're not that big to them. And I would believe that they know how to break down water fast. I think, Wisconsin fish do have slight bit of different tendencies. I think I'm going to side with multiple over 45, 46, and I don't think a 50 is going to be cracked this weekend. I mean, I know it's going to be, I mean, it should be good post turnover conditions, but I just don't know if it's quite right. I think if we had these during like a perfect pre-turnover conditions, I think for sure there would probably be a 50 caught, but I think we're still potentially in a slight limbo. I'm crossing my fingers that it's not, I want it to be a good bite, and I really want to see what these people can get out there. I want to see the potential of these fisheries. We got 2 full days. I was looking at the time. It's 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. 2 full days. I think that is a lot of time. So I don't know if you want to talk about what's going to win it for numbers wise. I know this year the point system changed a little bit. It looks like it's a little more heavily favorited towards bigger fish, which I think might help the decision of people wanting to target the bigger fish systems. But as a guide in the Northwoods up here, looking at the lake groups, there's some of these action waters that we have known to have very, very large fish get kicked out of there, and they're smaller systems. So the potential for somebody running into a big one of those systems, depending on how many people are on the smaller lakes, and if they're turning on the post turnover time frame, I could see multiple over 45 winning it. Maybe like, I don't know, 4 fish with maybe 2 in like the mid-ish 40 range, and a couple kickers, a couple like 36 to 38s. I don't know, 4. Does 4 seem reasonable? I don't know what's one in
Seems
the past.
seems like a lot.
I
mean,
know
I would.
David caught a ton last year, David and Chad.
He cheated.
He cheated. Yep. And was last year 3 days though?
Yeah, the first day was on Butternut Lake because we stayed at Butternut Lake Lodge. Shout out. And then Friday was an all day, or no, sorry, it was a half day Friday, all day Saturday, then part day Sunday last year.
Hmm.
So they got some good
Interesting.
intel during the rain out when they were eating lunch at the bar on a little sleeper action lake, and they went there and just cleaned house on Sunday. So
Yeah.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say
know.
four seems like a lot. That'd be 2 fish a day, which dragon suckers is possible,
It's
but feels like
that
3 is probably the more realistic number, especially if folks are
Hmm.
more weighted towards trophy water. It's gonna be interesting to see how the teams make their decision between action and trophy.
I think it's going to be just a close match, no matter if it's, 3 or 4 that wins it. I think that with the way that the point system's set up and just the teams that we have here, I think it's going to be a juicy competition out there and make for some really fun fishing and some really good banter, I would assume, because, there's probably going to be a few of tournament boats, fishing the same lakes, possibly same areas. So it's going to be like a little, mini tournament, or it is a little mini tournament, but it's going to feel like, well, heavy competition. So I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. All right. What other topics you guys want to talk about this evening? I mean, I feel like it's been really musky, battle heavy, which is good. I think that's what we kind of wanted to chat about here tonight. But I guess maybe let's do a little bit of just quick post turnover, like lakes that are maybe just kind of starting to hit that turnover stage, like it sounds like we're going to be setting up for. So all the people that are listening that are going out this weekend fishing, just maybe talk about Tyler and Kyle. What are some of the things you guys like to look for, like to do this time of year when you're out there?
Um, that's a good question, Max. Post turnover. Usually when turnover hits or it's starting to hit, I'll transition to river systems just to avoid it altogether. And then generally when I have suckers in the water, I will focus most of my time on rivers because I can typically drop them in and I don't have to pull them up the rest of the day. I can keep them down versus on lakes where, you fish through a spot and then you got to buzz across the lake. You got to pull the suckers up, puts more stress on the suckers, et cetera, et cetera. So post turnover, though, I mean, fish generally are going to be pushing deeper for the most part. Depending on how your lake lays out, if you have a secondary break, that's where they'll position, and your boat's going to be in that deeper water, which is, what a lot of the Minnesota folks, especially in the metro, are used to. Your boat's positioned in 20, 30 feet of water, and you're casting up into 10 feet and pulling blades over 20 feet of water. That's kind of how you're fishing, but deeper baits, great pauses. The fish I got today, I was working bait pretty slow, caught it on a suic. Had some other action on suics today too, and just really exaggerating those pauses. Add weight to your baits to get them to suspend more than kind of aggressively rise. Will trigger bites this time of year too, and then rubber's always good, obviously. And I think when we're thinking about the odds, part of what'll play out well in our favor in our boat is Tyler will have the front, and he's like a rubber connoisseur, and then I'll be off the back, and I love throwing suics, as everybody's grown to know if they've watched my channel. And the suic's a great bait because if you weight it properly, it can suspend and you can really let it hang off the back of the boat, and then you're not interfering with anybody else's baits as they're coming into the boat, where rubber generally has worked faster. So I think it sets us up well to take my boat this year, have me off the back, and we're both kind of playing to our strengths. And then Victoria will be the wild card, where we can throw a bunch of different baits at them in the two hole and kind of figure out maybe if they're onto something else. But I think post turnover, it's a lot of your wood, plastic, jerk baits, crank baits, etc. Work pretty slow off the deeper breaks and whatnot. And then hanging meat is always an added bonus to this time of year.
Kyle, before you go, Tyler, I got two questions for you. For artificial lures, what's your opinion on size of bait now that it's post turnover? Are you a bigger bait guy? Do you
I'm a
still
bigger
stick
bait
to
guy.
just a
I'm a big bait guy from opener. A muskie's if it's hungry, it's gonna eat the bait. I, I've always ripped mag dogs or husky deuces through the weeds. Whether the fish are aggressive, it's gonna work, or if they're turned off, it's gonna work. You're gonna get a reaction bite, and I'm always go big or go home. And the shoulder doesn't like that, but it does seem to work.
Yeah, I
And then
think.
what
I
about
think.
sucker? Or sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tend to lean on bigger baits too. If I'm throwing suics, it's 10 inches about as small as I go. 9 inches are kind of like a spring bait to me. If I'm throwing cranks, it's usually nines or up this time of year. And then rubber is magnum size and up this time of year. Today I was throwing a 12-inch suic around. And the smaller fish had no problem chasing that around. So maybe if I had downsized a little bit, you'd get some of those fish to eat, but they weren't really what I was looking for today anyway. So I was fine with just messing with them at the boat and letting them swim off. So, but yeah, generally bigger baits kind of basically from the second week in June onward, I'm upsizing definitely by July. We're just
Okay.
bigger baits. And this time of year, I wouldn't shy away from even bigger baits.
What about suckers for both of you guys? What's your opinion on kind of this post turnover time frame? Well, I mean, Kyle, you might have a different answer because I guess both of you're gonna be running 3 this weekend. Are you gonna differentiate your sizes, or are you just gonna go all big to kind of match your artificials? Or are you gonna downsize so that if you do bring them to the boat with, say, a Husky Dusa or a 12-inch Suic, they're gonna be like, ooh, look at this smaller little sucker.
That's where I like
What's
to
your
downsize is with my suckers. I used to run the big suckers. I found that I'd get a lot of action. A lot of fish would follow them. Not as many would take them. Where if I'm running like a 12 to 13, even 14-inch sucker, I get a lot less follows and a lot more takers.
Yeah,
What about you,
I
Kyle?
hadn't given it thought, Gus, in regard to like should we throw just one giant one out there with the other two? Because we do have that advantage in our boat. Um,
Yeah.
Generally I like a 12 to 14 inch sucker, and
Okay.
I probably err more so on the side of like 14 inches in a lot of the bodies of water that I fish kind of locally. I would say a lot of those bodies of water have a pretty good population of red horse in them already. And if you ever see them swimming around, they're all like 20 inches. So those fish are used to those larger size suckers to begin with. So I don't really shy away from them. And I think it's entirely body of water dependent. Um, but if I were to err on the side of caution with suckers, I would upsize the bait to bring the fish to the boat and downsize the sucker, to
Mhm.
Tyler's point, just because, if they chase a 12, 14-inch bait in, they decide, no, I don't want it. They may look and see that smaller sucker and think that's an easier meal. Um, and I probably had better hookups on the smaller ones, although it's hard to say. I think it's pretty
Mhm.
consistent across all of them. And um, sometimes it's less about the sucker itself and what you do with the sucker to get the bite on the fish.
Sure.
Because anybody who runs live imaging, it's about the only time I run it is when I'm watching suckers. You realize how many fish actually do follow suckers throughout the day, and sometimes that gives you the added benefit of being able to convert them because they're there versus in the past you wouldn't know unless your sucker told you. So there's things you can do with the rod, whether it's figure eight in the sucker. I've heard of people that slap the sucker on the surface, stuff like that to get them to strike. Um, so it all kind of depends. I mean, every fish is different, which makes it challenging, but maybe we will throw out a big 16, 17 incher just to see if that Wisconsin 50 wants to
Mhm.
take a bite.
You
Mhm.
mentioned that, the times you run live to kind of look at the suckers. Kind of a cool note on the battle that I thought was interesting is we're doing no live scope. What was the thought process kind of going into that and the reason for deciding to kind of have that not be part of the battle?
Just trying to keep it traditional competition. I mean, we're already running suckers, right? So like you kind of take the element of skill out of it to a certain degree with that. Like, yeah, you need to have skill to pattern. You need to have skill to bring the fish to the boat if they're not sitting off the deeper edge and see your sucker. But as soon as they get to the boat, then it's kind of like out of your hands at that point, and then it just comes down to instinct on that muskie, and it takes a little bit of that element of skill out of it. On the flip side, it's like you want to show that sweet Wisconsin heritage and the fact that you can have more than one line in the water and highlight some of that through the videos. And the more fish that we put on film, the better off it is for future opportunities with the battle, the exposure we get, stuff like that. So it gives us that advantage too from a business side in terms of running the musky battle. But as far as like the live scope side of it, like live scope is a skill for sure. It's a technology that gives a unique advantage above and beyond anything that's been released in the past, whether it's GPS, side imaging, down imaging, 2D, whatever. Um, and not every team that's participating has one. So just to level the playing field, we're keeping it out. It is a complete and total advantage running suckers. I won't lie. Like my fish catches went up astronomically when I started running it, hanging suckers, because muskies will follow your sucker and you have no idea they're there unless you're running live, because the sucker
Right.
doesn't always freak out, and it gives you a waypoint that you can come back on during better weather conditions or during a moon phase and stuff. So it would be an advantage to the teams that don't have it. So we're just trying to keep it fair for everybody. And like just so folks that are listening, I don't know if I touched on this yet or not, but like while it is a tournament, it's more of just an outing of like a bunch of friends. Like it's really not that serious. And while everybody, wants to win so that they can pull a David Dykowski and brag about it for a year, it's really not that important in the grand scheme of things. And there's not like some big pot of money or something tied to it. So we're out there to have fun, and we're gonna keep it simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like the way that it's set up this year. It really cool with the element of surprise on the lakes you're fishing. I've always kind of wondered that if more traditional tournament circuits would ever do something like that, where you kind of have like a group of lakes that will be, I guess, would be in quote unquote in the tournament. And then the day before at the rules meeting, the tournament director would say, okay, tomorrow, boats X through X are fishing this lake, boats X through X are fishing the other lake. I just think it would be kind of cool because there is a little bit of that where, when you're going to these tournaments, people that have the ability to take more time off of work and, spend more time pre-fishing do have, somewhat of an advantage. And at the end of the day, like when you're out there, whether it's the battle, and I know it's not highly competitive, but it's like it is fun to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together on the fly kind of during the day, with no previous waypoints of specific fish, stuff like that. Like you said, just kind of keeping it simple, more traditional. I like that aspect. You're just kind of going out there and going fishing for a couple days and see what happens. So I think that we'll do a really good job at evening the playing field and everything like that. I think the scoring system sounds kind of cool too. I got to look at all the rules. I didn't realize there's bonuses for tiger muskies. Some of the lakes that we're fishing are known for having really big tigers. So that would be something special to see somebody pull a giant tiger muskie out of one of these bodies of water this weekend.
Yeah, do you have the list in front of you, Max? I guess has everybody looked at them, and do you have a preference on which one you want at this point?
Lake group
Um,
wise.
Yeah, don't
Oh,
say any names, but
I absolutely do. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Which,
have
which,
I have a firm 1A and a very soft 2B and 2C.
so
okay.
they're named the Dykowski Newton family, Iverson family, or the Logue Rubner.
Loj, Rubner. I did the last three winners
Okay.
Okay.
for
So
the
Max, you
family.
have it up in front of you. Why don't you start off with your favorite here?
Well, it's kind of hard to say what it is without naming the lake.
No, just the
Just say the
family.
family.
Yeah. Don't say the name of the lake.
Oh, I don't have it actually pulled up in front of me. So I think Gus, you
Oh,
could probably guess which one I'd want to fish. So whatever that one is.
I
And
think Max's favorite is the Iverson family, and what I'd be, while that would be very much so good, I would like that one. I think I'd like the Dykowski Newton family
That's where I'm at.
for
Hmm.
sure.
Now Max is
And
like,
Max is
which
like,
one's
yo,
which?
which was
yeah, it's kind of hard when I don't have it pulled up. But
I'd be
yeah,
okay
no.
with any of them. I mean, I don't know if you took this into consideration. You probably did, Brian, because you put Max and I at 15-1. We have pretty much set in stone that we are 100% dedicating our entire time to trophy.
Yeah. I mean, I hope Charlie wants to do that too. That was what I was hoping to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my mindset switch as soon as it gets past October 1st, basically, for the
Yeah.
most part. But
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Tyler and I, after last year, we were pretty set on action, but I think that's kind of changed over the last month or so. I
we got
saw
2
enough on
days.
I saw enough on trophy water today to say that's probably the direction I'm gonna go. Um, with the boat, and I can only do so much research on some of these lakes. I've never fished any of them to really, like, you guys have past experience on some of them or know buddies who do. I don't really, but there's the Trophy Lake in the Loge Rubner family is one that is really intriguing to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the opportunity at Tigers, I think would be really cool based on
Yeah,
the
that
research I've
one.
done.
I
But
think that one could pose some big fish potentials if it's hit right, or if somebody stumbles on their own little pack of them, because that's what seems to happen out there, especially post turnover.
yeah, I think that's going to be the big key too is post turnover fish seem to pack up, and that's kind of so that all these teams gravitate towards trophy water. Whoever finds the pack is going to be the ones that sit on them and have the advantage kind of early on. So it'll be interesting to see, how fast people can break down water and figure out where they're going to be and get there first.
So Kyle, oh, I'm just looking ahead to the future with the battle. I know you've kind of talked about some potential places to go. Are you looking to maybe mix it up year to year, go between Wisconsin and Minnesota, or is Canada ever in the equation? What are your plans looking ahead?
I'd like to take it to different locations every year. I think that's part of the fun of it is kind of showcasing all these different parts of the muskie world that people maybe haven't had the opportunity to fish, and now they do if they want to be a part of the battle. I would love to go to Canada. That's more challenging with people's schedules and whatnot. And like, if we were to partner with the resort in Canada, I think a lot of folks would want to take the full week off. So that's something to consider too. And then the other thing to keep in mind too is a lot of the resorts we work with as part of the battle are pretty much booked solid through the summer. So when they're going to be willing and able to partner with us is usually during their slower time of year. So that kind of puts us in that mid to late September through the end of October timeframe. And there's not many Canadian resorts that stay open that long just because of, once the school year starts, they get less US travel. And the resort I stay at in Canada, I think like 95% of their business is US residents. So that's one thing to keep in mind with it. But, there's a lot of cool places across the Muskie belt that I'd like to try. I mean, Ohio would be a really cool one, I think. There's a lot of smaller water out there, but they have a really like bolstering fishery right now, and it's up and coming, and would be kind of cool to experience that and showcase that. The Chippewa flowage is one that appeals to me. I'd love to have one where, you got everybody's boats in the water the whole time. So there's less trailering and that side of it that just takes time and cuts into the camaraderie side of it because you want to give people as much time on the water as possible so everybody has a shot at a fish. And then when you got, an hour's worth of loading the boat on the trailer and towing it someplace, it cuts into that camaraderie side. So something like the Chip where everybody could be on the water would be cool. Others have thrown out Green Bay, St. Clair, stuff like that. There's probably less resort partnering opportunities at those places because they get enough exposure as it is. So yeah, I think anything's on the table, Brian. To answer your question, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out here. I've kind of got the wheels in motion on a few things for next year, and we could pivot too, depending on what happens here over the next couple of months. But we're thinking ahead to next year already, and we haven't even started this one. So I'm trying to live in the moment a little bit this week and enjoy it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we get to be a part of it. You touched on the camaraderie thing, so before we end here, I think I gotta ask. I mean, what's some of your guys' better boat stories is fishing together, and you guys have been boat partners now for a couple of years, and seems like it's not a bad time. So if you got one or two that stick out, be curious to hear about those.
What do you got, Tyler?
Oh, you're gonna tell it, so go ahead and tell the top water story.
You tell it.
Oh, last year at the Wisconsin battle, it was the weather, the water temps, the lakes were just goofy. They were in like a post turnover, still in turnover funk. Some fish were shallow, some fish were deep, and Kyle decides he's going to throw a topwater. And
Keep in mind, we had been fishing deep breaks all day.
Yes, we have been
No
fishing
action.
deep breaks all day, no action. So we moved up shallow, and Kyle wanted to throw a topwater. I'm like, whatever. And what did you say? Throw them until they bounce. I said that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm not throwing topwater in late October, November. I'm just not doing it. And I don't think I no longer got that out of my mouth. I look to the front of the boat. I'm like, is that a wake? He goes, you damn right it is.
It was like the third cast. It couldn't have been more perfect.
So that fish wakes up. Then we move around the corner, I think we see one surface up shallow again, and then a sucker goes off.
No, we beached your boat first on that.
Oh
rip.
yeah, we put my brand new boat up onto a giant boulder that wasn't marked. Like, and then we had a sucker rod go off. We didn't get that fish, and then shortly after, this was all like a 15-minute window of just action after a whole day of nothing. I have one of those two fish. I was throwing a glide bait. I had one of those two fish hit that glide bait, and I set the hook like I was setting the hook into a double nickel, and that phantom came flying out at like a cruise missile right towards Kyle. So in that 15 minutes, a lot of shit happened.
Did Kyle dodge it or?
Kyle was quick.
I dodged it. It was close though. It was close. Yeah, that's probably the best one. Most of our outings are pretty nondescript. Like first time we ever fished together, you stuck two fish, and then it's been a while since you've caught a fish in the boat. When
While
we
we're
fished
together, yeah.
I've caught the last 3 or 4, I think.
Yep.
Sounds like you're due.
Do factor? Question mark.
Yeah. That first time we were with, or we fished together, that second fish was the middle of the day hot. We were just snapping rubber the old Wisconsin way. But there was a pontoon right next to us, and a bunch of people were swimming. Gosh, they couldn't have been 50 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
And catch this. I don't remember how big it was. Low 40s musky. They don't care if you're swimming. They'll still hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. We're kind of all business when we're out there.
Sounds like it.
But we don't really fish together all that often, to be honest. Well, and like this year was a wash. Obviously, for me, I was busy all year. Didn't even get on the water till August 17th. But yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how things shake out. The last 2 battles we fished, we were in your boat.
Yep.
So it'll be different being in mine this time. But I think like I said earlier, I think it'll play to our strengths a little bit better, honestly, with how we both like to fish. So we'll see.
Well, you're the favorites for a reason. You know,
I guess.
We're the favorites because we got Victoria. She's the good stick out of us.
Yeah.
That is,
there you go.
I would not have put us as the favorites, to be honest with you, but I'm honored, to be in the
Shaking
pole
up,
position, and
I want to be happy as long as we beat David.
There you go.
That's all that matters.
That's my
all
goal.
All
Just
right.
beat David.
Any closing questions from Gus or Brian here before we let these guys go and get to see them in a few days?
What time are you guys going to start drinking on Friday or Saturday?
One of the bush peaches getting cracked.
It depends. It was an
Last
afternoon
battle,
by window today.
Last battle, it was before noon, that's for sure.
It'll depend. If it's a morning bite window and we got 6 or 7 in the bag already, it'll be an early day. But
I'm sure that'll happen.
I'm gonna wait till after we get a couple. So
There you go. Right on.
Yeah. I don't think I got anything else to add here other than really, really excited to see you guys here shortly and just spend a lot of good quality time with and meet a bunch of the people in the battle. There's some people
That's what I'm most
in here
excited
that
about.
I haven't met, and there's some that we've only met through like the podcast. We haven't met David in person yet. We just had him on the podcast, and we stay in touch with him a good bit still. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm most looking forward to see what the Bemidji boys do, because they said they were looking at some of the lake maps of the lake groups, and they said they were licking their chops. I'm like, uh-oh.
yeah,
Looks
I
like it's
know
plains and maybe
exactly.
their advantage.
I know exactly which one they want.
I think they'll be fine at any of them, but I don't know. The trophy one on Lake Group Lode Shrubner could give them a little bit of a mix.
I'd like to see them out there.
I don't think many Minnesota lakes set up like that at all. So
Do we have to reevaluate the odds after the lake families are drawn?
We could.
Emergency
so.
podcast.
Emergency podcast.
We could have emergency, like, Friday drop, Saturday drop or something. If it's an easy,
It's raw and uncut. I'm sure that would go well at Friday night or Thursday
raw,
night.
Raw uncut day one update with updated odds.
That'd actually be
People
pretty
need.
cool.
Yeah.
We'll have a few bush peaches over that thought and see what we come up with. Probably something good.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here this evening. This was a lot of fun. Good to chat some battle talk. And yeah, like I said, looking forward to seeing you guys. Before we let you go, do you guys just want to quickly reiterate your YouTube channels and where people can find you to watch some videos?
Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, my YouTube is Midwest Fishing with Ty, and my Instagram is just Ty Eggenberger. Appreciate any likes or follows.
You're a big like guy.
Yeah, big.
Like,
What is this? How do you say it? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like a real influencer.
He counts his subscribers before bet every night. So.
Oh, you might as well tell the true story of that right now.
You tell it.
All right, so as we all know, Adam Flash, he's very witty, he's very quick, and Kyle had said a funny. Can I say what you said too?
Sure, I don't remember what I said.
About the beaver on his page.
Oh yeah.
On his story.
No, don't say
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Well, Kyle commented something funny, but Adam Flash's response, which was super quick, it was go count your subscribers.
Instantly. Flash is the
Instantly to
witty.
Kyle.
Yeah.
He's so witty. It's so quick.
Well, and then as I drove by you guys on Sunday, because I went to the lake, and there was 900 boats there, and I said, "Screw this! I'm going someplace else." I honked, and Flash
you
said
weren't the first person to honk though. So, like 15 minutes before you drove by, I actually pulled one on Flash. 15 minutes before you drove by, someone honked, and Flash looked back at me, and I just put my head down. I said, "Fans." And then 15 minutes later, you go by and you honk, and he goes, "Damn, your subscribers."
Good stuff.
Yeah, you got fans. They see that Alumacraft out there floating, and they just got to honk.
And then Sunday, the guy we run into thought I was you from the day before. It was the same guy out on that body of water. He thought I was talking to you for the first 10 minutes. Like, no, that's a different Alumacraft, different cameras.
You guys were trespassing in my mud puddle.
Oh, I've been fishing that mud puddle before you knew it was there.
Crying out loud. I taught you everything you know about that mud puddle. Okay, well, we got to wrap this up, so I'll just give my information here. Kyle Friedges, my YouTube channel is Beyond the Eight, formerly called Cabbage Dragon Media. So if you search either one of those, it should come up, but it will definitely come up if you search Cabbage Dragon Media. I still got to go back through all the videos and convert the names over so it shows up when searched. My Instagram is Kyle Friedges, and you can add me on Facebook as well. Always like to engage with everybody, and it's been really fun over the last year. I was just on the Hunks podcast again too, and it was a year since I was on there, and I gave those guys a big thank you, and I'll say it to you guys too, the Muskies on Tap guys. Like, you guys gave me a platform to come on and kind of talk about my stuff a little bit, and everything just really blossomed after that for me. And if it wasn't for that exposure via the podcast, I'm know if some of these opportunities to partner with certain brands and do some work for them would have come up. So, thank you to you guys. Thank you to the Honks. Shout out Honks. It's been a
Shout
while.
out.
We're looking forward to the battle, putting together a really sweet video for everybody to kind of tune into and hopefully help grow that thing too, so we can add more teams next year and keep bouncing around the Musky Belt.
For
Nice.
sure.
Well, we
Well,
appreciate the love, and also
yeah.
as much as I would love to take credit, you guys make great content, so I think people would have found you one way or another. So
I would say it was easy to have you on and yeah, promote your stuff and get you out there. Our pleasure, and it's yeah. Thank you for coming on and sharing your fun stories. People love hearing that too. Aside from just watching the YouTube videos and all that, it's another reason why people love podcasts, is especially these long formats like the Hunks do as well. You can easily tell these stories, over with, or other details that maybe you couldn't fit into YouTube and all that stuff. But yeah, appreciate you, Tyler and Kyle, for coming on. Can't wait to see you guys this week.
Yeah, a couple
Kyle,
more
I know will
days.
be out in the water beforehand. We'll see if we can get after a giant on this big cold snap coming. Something's got to eat, something's got to give, and finally the weather's given. So
wear your
I think
sunscreen tomorrow.
Muskies will give it too. Yeah, seriously, it's still gonna be warm tomorrow. I didn't really look at the sun or the cloud. Hopefully you got your cloud block if it's cloudy, sun block if it's sunny, and got the cameras rolling. So
Appreciate it, guys. We will see you soon.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right. See you guys.
You guys.
All right, Fire.
No, I can't.
You
come
gotta
on,
do it.
now
You
you're
gotta do it.
rolling. Come on, Kyle.
All right. I'm gonna give it a shot here. I'm gonna give it my best Brian Eckel Vegas odds maker. I gotta think about what I'm gonna say here quick.
He never does.
Brian never thinks.
Yeah.
He just goes
I
with
want
it.
to know. He's got that witty trait that I don't fucking have. So
It's usually like
oh shit. Gus.
Start it.
just keep her going. I was just gonna say that Brian usually cuts me off as I'm doing my last bit of outro. Like as I'm finishing up, he goes, "Oh," just like already into it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Muskies on Tap this week. Shout out Tyler Eggenberger and Kyle Friedges and Brian Eckel, Max Manti, Gus Manti. Thank you so much for coming on here today, and thank you so much for listening. Shout out Musky Battle, and here we go.
Cheers.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Nah, Brian's got to do it. That was trash.
All right, Brian, hit
That
us
was
up.
I can't follow that. That's too good.
All right, Brian, hit us up. Give us an intro or an outro.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Muskies on Tap. Shout out to these two fellas for coming on tonight, Tyler and Kyle. Check out their YouTube channels if you guys haven't already. We will see you guys soon at the Musky Battle. Be sure to check out the odds that we dropped on this podcast. Put your money down where it's smart. Charlie and Brian, we will get your return on investment. Be sure to follow along this weekend as we go through the tournament, see who the winner will be. Good luck, everybody out there who else is fishing this weekend. Peace.